Hey, Chris, thanks for joining us today. As we're getting started, give us a little background on yourself.
Well, I'm Chris Atwell. Uh, Quite a varied background, I have to admit. Grew up an army brat here in Canada, so moved around a lot as a kid, from base to base, everywhere from Alberta to Prince Edward Island, if you're familiar with the
I've
landscape
been there.
here in Canada. So I grew up around other army brats and went to multiple schools. And funny thing is, I started my first sales job when I was a teenager. I was a Dickie D ice cream salesman. So I started selling ice cream on a bicycle when I was 15 years old, with the bells ringing around in neighborhoods, and I won my first sales award at 15 years old. And from there, studied business in school, started a music career, toured around as a rap artist for a number of years.
I can see
I,
that.
I was in the I was in the military
Toronto's
for,
#1 rap artist.
well, me and Drake are homies, right? So I did that. I've been producing music for a number of years as kind of a side passion. Started my sales career in 2007 in the transportation industry, working for a company called Purolator, which is the UPS of Canada. Built up to national accounts role there, and then I moved to Granger, which is
Yep.
large MRO supplies company, again national accounts. And then I moved into a technical sales role where I traveled all around the United States, visiting with engineers around the country, helping them understand the value of our products and why they should include them in their specifications and their construction documents with a company called Camplast that I was working with. And then for the last 6 years, I've been the national sales manager here at ITW, another world-renowned company. And I'm also an entrepreneur, and I have my own mindset coaching business that
Yeah.
I manage as well.
Cool.
So
And you're a people manager today?
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's that
Yeah.
going?
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
There's been up and downs, obviously, right? With any team, there's some fluctuation. There's some great hires and some terrible departures. But this year has been absolutely incredible. And I've got the right team. We're doing all the right things. The success is coming to fruition. The synergy is there, and that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
And I'm
What
having the
was
opportunity to coach these guys too, which is great, and they're growing their careers. So
what was the motivation to get into leadership versus being a rep?
my father, yeah, to be
Your
honest,
dad
it was
told
my
you to?
father. Yeah, pardon me.
Your dad told you to?
My dad told me to. No. Well, my father started his career in the military as a private, and slowly moved his way up the ranks. And when he retired, he was the chief warrant officer of the Canadian Forces Medical School, and he did it all through grit, hard work, and passion for what he did. And I saw that growing up. Starting as the small guy, moving up the totem pole, and to be the leader of his organization, so to speak. So he was a big inspiration to me. So that sparked a lot of it. And then I've had some great mentors in the business as well that have guided me through the way.
And what do you like about it?
My favorite part about leadership in particular, is watching the people that I'm helping and coaching come up with like incredible results and jump through hoops that they probably didn't realize they could, get over limiting beliefs, and crush their goals. That's
Yeah.
my favorite part. Right.
But I can't imagine that kind of the military authoritarian approach. And I'm not saying you take that approach, but that's kind of what you grew up with, I assume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Translate.
I definitely don't take that approach.
Okay.
But there are takeaways, right?
Yeah.
There are some great takeaways from the military that apply in business. Self-discipline, for example. That's
Routine.
huge,
Yeah.
right? Right. If you can get up every morning, have a solid morning routine, do all the things that are going to make the biggest difference in your day, get your day started right, you're going to be off to a good start. And the military teaches people that. And then, there is a mutual respect as well, right? Everybody in the military respects each other and treats each other as if if you're all working on the same team, well, you've heard the term, they're brothers, right?
Yeah.
That's a big piece of teamwork. And then obviously, any good leader, whether it's military or not, is going to be there to guide and coach and work through problems, whether it's the theater of war or whether it's the biggest $1 million transaction that you're working on at this time. So.
And what was it like that first year? Was it a natural transition or was it awkward? Because that first year seems to be really hard for sales leaders.
Yeah, it's funny because I was fortunate enough to manage restaurants while I was going through college, and so I had some experience in my earlier days managing people. So it wasn't completely foreign to me, but I do agree that there is a transition point, right? There's levels to leadership, and my first year, I would say, particularly in this role, was really gaining the trust of my team members, right? Letting them know that, hey, yes, I'm the manager. Of course, I'm a level 1 leader now. I've been given the title, right? And, you've got to respect me. I'm the boss.
Whether you like it or not, whether you
like it or not. Yeah, but I try to be a servant leader. I want them to know that I work for them just as well. So it takes time. So that first year was really about developing those relationships, developing that trust and the confidence that, hey, this guy really is, what he says he is. So that takes time. And so that first year was really all about that, was just building that trust, right?
And it sounds like some people were a good match and some people weren't. What was the distinction there?
I think the distinction is around those who really don't want to be managed, that truly have that I'm in it for myself, lone wolf type approach, right? Where when I came in, I really tried to encourage teamwork and collaboration, right? Problem solving is far more effective when you've got many people involved in the problem. Not too many, but if you were a lone wolf on my team, particularly, you weren't going to last, unfortunately. So
Because they didn't engage, or
they weren't open to many of the ideas that were being shared amongst the group. They thought that their idea was the best idea and they couldn't handle change as much, those kinds of things, if that makes sense.
And what do you look for when you hire salespeople?
Well, that's a great question. I've been hiring quite a few people over the last couple of years. And the number one thing that I look for is mindset, first and foremost. Do you have a positive mindset? Are you hungry? Are you going to be able to handle challenges that get face your way? Because, selling isn't unicorns and rainbows. We know that, right? It's you're putting out fires more than you are celebrating the wins. So I look for mindset and cues of, how do you handle certain situations? That's the number one. And secondly, because my team is so close knit, there's this cultural fit too, right? You got to make sure that they're gonna gel with everyone. I don't want to have everybody be cookie cutter exactly the same. Right. It's great to have a diverse kind of personality types and backgrounds. So I take that into consideration as well when I'm looking for people.
And where'd you get the interest in mindset? Where'd that come from?
Man, I've been thinking about that a lot lately because, I'm coaching a lot of people on mindset, but it really, really stuck with me this year. I want to say this year is when I really realized that mindset is ultra important. And it's because I had a little situation where I compete in CrossFit. Okay. I'm an athlete, and I don't know if you follow CrossFit, big sport. And this year, with COVID and everything, I got a coach. I built a garage gym, and to get through COVID, I said I'm going to discipline myself, and I'm just going to crush my fitness while I'm working from home over Zoom all day. And I made it to the top 10% in my age category in the world, and I made it to the age group online qualifiers, which is a big deal. The next step from there is the CrossFit Games. Okay. And day 4 of that, I came up with what's called rhabdomyolysis. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's literally kidney failure, pretty much. And it occurs when you overexert your muscles to the point where your muscle fibers die. Okay. And those enzymes have to clear through your system, and they block your kidneys. And at the time, I ended up in the hospital for 6 days. And I sat there alone in this room asking myself a ton of questions because I wasn't allowed to get here. COVID shut down the hospital. And I'd been, aware of the fact that mindset is important in my life. But when I got out of the hospital and, doctors said, hey, you can't work out for a couple of months, you got to take it easy. You pushed yourself too hard. I went through a little bit of a downtime, like a little bit of a depression, right? Because my routine got flipped upside down, but I had to keep my game face on for my team all the time. Like everything was okay. And what I realized is that if I want to get out of this slump, the only person who can get himself out of this slump is myself. Whether that's, and it clicked because in so many situations in life, that's exactly what happens, right? If you're going to change what's happening, you need to take action. And that's when it really, really stuck with me that my mindset is one of the most important things to me, and that it's important for everybody on the route to success. And if I want to change this quote unquote depression that I have right now, I've got to get in the right mindset, take the right actions to get better. And that's when it really, really stuck with me. So,
but how'd you do it? What was the kind of pivot points?
Yeah. So the pivot point was, all right, recognizing why I was feeling that way. Number one. And I was feeling that way ultimately because I was so regimented and self-disciplined on my existing routine that it got completely flipped upside down and I could not do that routine anymore. So the first thing I decided to do was change my routine, come up with a new regiment that makes sense. So I sat down, pen and paper, started writing down, my kind of the goals that I wanted to achieve over the next 30, 60, 90, not only from a health perspective, but my life in general, family, business, etc. So I could reestablish a new starting point. And part of that was developing a brand new morning routine and a new workout routine that wasn't so devastating to my body at the time. And with that came meditation. And meditation is now part of my morning routine, which I didn't do before. And I read a cool book called Conquest of the Mind, which really walks you through all the different stages of how you can meditate thoroughly through your mind to achieve a positive mindset. So that helped a lot. And then just sticking with it. And I haven't stopped ever since. And that has completely changed my mindset. People often say, hey, you can't be that happy all the time, right? Because I come off as like, I'm happy, but that's just literally is because I am.
But you still have those urges that like, because I think meditation is it's really hard because that subconscious is constantly saying, this is a waste of time. Let's get onto something real. How did you temper that down?
So I started with, now we're getting deep here, Brian. We're getting deep because I love talking about this.
This is the only way I go.
So I analyzed my meditations a lot over the last couple of months and realized, hey, yes, I was getting sidetracked. And it was because I wasn't certain about what I should be doing or how I should be guiding myself while in that state of mind. So the first thing I do is I always start with the same cue. And that is sit comfortably, same spot every day, same lighting, and same meditation music. And in my mind, once I close my eyes, I start talking about my affirmations and the aspirations, kind of those empowering beliefs that I've set for myself. I actually have about 3 different paragraphs that I've written down and memorized. And I start there and I go through that. And it says, I am a successful business leader, things like that. And I I like posting videos on social media because it's fun. It allows me to be creative, and it helps people, and it attracts people to me at the same time. All these different things that I've written down, I recite them in my mind. And once I get through kind of those things that I've memorized, then I have a process where, okay, I got nothing else to say to myself. Let's go through all the different parts of my body and breathe in some positive energy into my brain, and then exhale all the negative stuff. Breathe into my eyes, my nose, my mouth, all the way down to my toes. Then from there, I read this book called Cyber Psychonetics or Psycho-Cybernetics, sorry, by Dr. Moss, I think his name is. He was a plastic surgeon who realized that a lot of people, even if they get plastic surgery, they still can't get out of their negative mindset. And they thought it was going to change them. And what he says is set up your success mechanism. So I've been trying to set up my success mechanism in my meditations as well, which is around going back to those times in my life where I had amazing achievement, where I was celebrating something so big in my life that it made me ultra happy. So in my meditation, I go to that place and I remember every single detail and look at it from different angles, like as me and my body. What was my smile like? Who was around me? What was the sounds that were happening when, I got that award for winning top salesman of the year and got President's Club, for example, and then look at it from different angles and then move from memory to memory to memory. And usually I have a timer on for 15 minutes. When the 15-minute timer goes on, I probably could have kept going for more time, because now there's structure to my meditation. It's all about the empowering beliefs I've set for myself, going through my entire body, and then setting up my success mechanism. So,
But as you go through the day, sales is kind of like the opposite of that, right? It's problem, problem, problem,
right,
rejection, highs to immediate lows.
right.
How do you manage that?
Well, one, when there's highs, let's recognize them, right? And remind everyone that, hey, this is what it's all about, right? When we get those wins, this is our job. This is why we're here, right? To generate revenues for the organization we work for, so we can all get paid and everybody's happy. So anytime there's a low, for example, you got 4 verbals this week from your distributors, and they're saying, yeah, we're gonna place these POs, and they never come in. The first thing I do is, we don't get upset in my team, right? It's okay. What happened? Let's analyze the situation. Let's find out, okay, why they didn't come in. Is it simply because they got too tied up and it's coming next week? Is it coming in at all anymore? Do we know? Did the contractor who was supposed to buy the product from that distributor change his mind? Is it going to a competitor? And we try to analyze the situation so that we can understand what happened, in hopes that we can prevent it from happening again, and creating some sort of policies within our team to and actions to make sure that it doesn't happen again, right? There's been situations where the failure is so big, I don't want to call it a failure, but the low is so low, you lose your number one account, for example. They move to a competitor. Those situations are quite serious when those happen, right? And you got to treat those case by case. I don't have a standard answer to say, hey, when it's a really big low, we're going to pretend like everything's peachy keen and come up with a strategy for not happening again. Of course, we're going to do that, but sometimes you got to put your foot down, and maybe that authoritarian sort of approach has to come out.
Well, because in sales, we have this paradox where when we're in front of clients, we have to be confident. We have to have like that cybernetic thing, that belief that we can do this, that we have done this before, we can do this again.
Of course.
But then when we're not in front of the client, we kind of have to switch that to what could go wrong? What am I missing? How do I prevent anything bad from happening? Keep this deal on track.
Mm-hmm.
Most salespeople are good at the confidence side, but not at the tearing it down side, because then they can't manage that dichotomy of personalities.
It's interesting. We were talking about mindset earlier, and sometimes you can't spot that in somebody when you're hiring them, and you recognize it over time, right? It's the whole concept of, are you willing to hold yourself accountable for what's happening in your territory, for example, right? Things are going well, you're raising yourself up and you're saying, I'm the best sales guy on the planet. My confidence level is through the roof. I can duplicate this all day long. But then if something goes wrong and you start passing blame on others, that's kind of a red flag to me, right? It's like, hey, listen, we're all in the same position. This stuff happens, but you have to hold yourself accountable. And if you are, in my opinion, a great salesperson who cares about his business, you will hold yourself accountable for whether you win or you lose. And yeah, you work through those losses and figure out how not to let them happen again. But you have to accept that responsibility.
Because we are the athletes in the business world.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times, like yourself, we push ourselves too far.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a weird balance because I'm like a runner, and it's the same type of thing. That first mile, your subconscious mind's telling you, you really need to take today off. Your knee's hurting you a little bit. You shouldn't be pushing yourself this hard. But if you listen to that, you never run.
That's right. Yeah, it's true. It's
But
true.
if you don't listen to it once in a while, you're going to get hurt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's why it's important to know yourself, right? We all have limits. There's no doubt about it. But if you've got a sore knee, you can go to physio, you can ice it, you can take a hot Epsom salt bath, you can drink lots of water. The same in business, right? If you're up all night, banging out your emails because you're overthinking about work and you're not sleeping, you're not going to be as effective the next day. So you need to make sure that you take your rest, you're eating healthy foods, you're taking breaks, right? Strategic breaks from your digital mediums and to just kind of clear your mind. I love going outdoors and hunting and fishing and disconnecting completely for a few days. If everybody could find what they need to take care of themselves and have that preventative side of falling apart and pushing themselves too far, I think that's key to success for sure.
And plus, it's not like an hour run. It's good 8-10 hours a day of this roller coaster that we're on.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it's avoidable, and some of it you don't want to avoid. You want to feel it and sense it so that you can prevent bad things from happening.
Well, and it's also a matter of knowing what you have to do, right? I think a lot of salespeople think that they have to do everything, right? They've got to every call or email that comes in, they have to respond to everything. But if you really think about what's essential, what is really going to make the biggest difference, biggest impact in my day, and you kind of say no to a lot of the things that maybe are just noise, right? You're gonna avoid burning out, right? You're gonna be able to get to your objectives faster because you're focused on them, and you're getting the job done far more effectively.
Yeah. And how can salespeople build this into their day and then into their routine to get a better handle on their emotions and use them to help them sell more and not burn out?
Yeah, I think having a routine is very important. Number one, a lot of people don't have a routine. They kind of just, they
wing it. Yeah.
They shoot at the hip, right? Which works for some people, but it's very rare that it's actually the most effective route to take. So having a routine, number one, is key. And that routine could look different for everyone. But I think, if you're a family man and you've got two kids at home and they're up at 7 a.m. and, you wake up to the madness and you got to get them to school, make breakfast, and then you got to hit the road and go to your first call, and you're not ready for that day because you dealt with the kids all morning, maybe you should consider waking up an hour earlier while the house is quiet.
Yeah.
And, maybe doing something like a quick little bit of exercise, a quick little meditation, journal and plan your day, read something enlightening, and then step into, the busyness of your day. That part will help keep your mind calm, because your cortisol levels are highest in the morning right away. So if you get up and pound 2 coffees and hit the road, your stress is going to be maxed out. But if you let time for your cortisol to unwind and then hit the road, you're going to be far more successful. And then during the day, obviously, if you can learn to manage your Outlook calendar and maximize your time by scheduling things like, this is when I'm going to do my calls and my follow-ups. This is when I'm taking a 15-minute break to go for a walk. This is when I'm going to schedule my Zoom meetings. This is when I'm going to do my one-on-ones with my boss. These kinds of things create a routine which help tremendously.
Yeah, that's true. Cool. Hey, I really appreciate your time today, Chris. Where can people go to connect and follow you?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn, Chris Atwell. I'm there pretty much all the time now. I'm really enjoying that platform. And that's about it. That's the best place.